warm welcome, Amrita ma'am.
Thank you.
It's really a pleasure to be seated here and learning about education through your eyes. You have been a catalyst in transforming education, and I'm a witness to the same and very, very keen to learn how it transcends into the corridors and the cultures of our classrooms.
So beautiful to see that transformation, isn't it? And it's always a team effort. You've been part of that whole transformation journey over the years. Come to think of it, I think children are born with this innate capacity, this wonder to learn. That's what makes us human. That's what is the reason why the human species is the master of the species. There are these things that the child is born with, and then we're able to create this concept of intersubjective realities that only humans can believe in. The magic of the story, the wonder of creation, the wonder of curiosity of always trying to figure out why something works the way it does. That is what really creates a human child. That is what we need to nurture and nourish in a school rather than take away. And I think school or education or anything about education will be able to achieve that true purpose of preparing for life only if we nourish and nurture this wonder, this innate beauty within the child, rather than kill that creativity, as Sir Ken Robinson calls it. Now, one of the things that I learned long back from John Holt's writings is that certainty is an illusion. I don't think there's ever been a time in history when we have felt it to the core. We don't know what is next, from VUCA to whatever the world may call it today. But yes, certainty is an illusion. And alongside that, there's one more thing. Separateness is also an illusion. And that we really need to break, because everything on this planet, in the entire universe, is really interconnected. That's the only true reality. What we've been really building in our education systems over the years has been this culture of competition, this culture of separateness, this culture of considering somebody good. You're considered good only if you're better than the person you're with, the person around you or the people around you. Then we are building that culture of separativeness, culture of jealousy, culture of fear, culture of all those negative train of emotions. That is not what the world needs. The world desperately today needs collaboration, because the world is meant to be like that. Our very soil has diversity inbuilt in it. Our very gut has diversity inbuilt in it. Similarly, the whole world, the universe, this interconnectedness is naturally diverse. That diversity has to be respected, celebrated, nurtured, and that will happen when we ensure that children love and respect the other in the culture, in the system. This can only come with competition with oneself, with genuine collaboration built into the system, where nobody fears, call it a utopia or what you will, but it is the world, it is the free space that is required for children to genuinely grow and learn.
That's really interesting to learn through your eyes, ma'am, that how education is being transformed in our classrooms at Adani GEMS School of Excellence. So paint me a picture that when a learner comes and walks into the classroom, how does he spend his typical day?
First of all, we don't use the term classroom. Why call it a room? Why cage it in? Schools are more like, they're almost designed akin to prisons. Everyone's got a roll number, everyone's got a uniform, children are more or less seen like a collection of percentages. We have to change this language. We have to change the grammar of schooling. This is a grammar that has been utterly, in John Hattie's words, utterly impervious to all new research and learning. If you want to make it pervious, if you want to make it porous, accepting, then first of all, this grammar of exclusion has to change. It has to become inclusive. It has to become naturally absorbing, just like the absorbent mind of the child, as in Maria Montessori's way of thinking. Now, our classroom is a learning environment. The entire campus is a learning environment. There are no bells in our schools. Bells are not meant to be in schools, just like uniforms are not. We still have uniforms, though I would rather not have them, though. But we have children in very comfortable sports attires because yoga is an everyday aspect of our culture. I think a lot of this mechanization began when what Francis Bacon called the masculine birth of time happened. When man or Purush in our culture decided that they have to master nature, but Purush and Prakriti are equal. There cannot be one stronger than the other. The minute we think in that direction, where either of them goes stronger than the other, there is a problem. They're equal, they're meant to be together, they're meant to collaborate, and they're half and half. That's why we have the Ardhanarishwar concept in the Indian culture. That circular way of thinking, the yin and yang go together, and there is a circle around it. Everything in nature is circular, and the learning environment is also that culture where everything is organic. Nothing goes in like an industrial assembly line. It doesn't work like that. Till the time we keep thinking like that, we'll not be able to think transformatively about it. Which is why we have to think more in the Fibonacci spiral, more in circles, more in the feminine way of thinking, where one thing gives rise to another and another and another, and we keep scaffolding ideas on top of the other. So therefore, it's a learning environment. Children walk into a space that invites them with numberless, every wall, every nook and corner, every arena, every corridor. There are independent learning centers. There are places that we call wonder walls. There are spaces that we call living walls. And there are spaces where children have created their own arenas and they put down things. There are emotional literacy centers. There are honesty libraries. There are trust stations. There are no closed, locked student cabinets. There's no term as student lockers in our schools. There are open cabinets and open spaces indoors. There's an atelier. Art is very central. We all talk about critical and creative thinking. We've been hearing about 21st century skills. We are now a quarter of the century done with this century, and we've been hearing about these skills for more than 40 years now. But really, are we nurturing the creativity that we talk about? The creative pursuits have been segregated. There have been too many boxes, So we'll have a music period and we'll have a separate dance period and we'll have a science lesson. So the lab coats are supposed to go there, and the artists and the paint brushes and canvases go there. That's not how anything creative, any innovation happens. The brain, the right and the left have to function together. We don't need to go deep into brain science to really understand that for anything innovative to happen, you need the creativity angle, you need the irrelevance of it, you need the unruliness to some extent, you need that dialectics, that rebellion streak alongside the science of it, alongside the data, alongside the formula. And no one can build something amazing alone. You need, just like you need a village to raise a child, you need a whole village come together to develop something innovative. So when all those minds come together, think together, something beautiful emerges. And that is what a child's learning is like. So there are a whole host of maker spaces. The teachers in this process are there supporting, nurturing, in a very, very big way, making our learners assessment capable, because self-evaluation and peer learning are very, very critical elements of a child's life. It's a zero judgment zone. So children feel genuinely free to take decisions of their own, free to choose what they would like to learn and why and how, but at the same time not directionless, supported from all ends with a whole host of, because all learning is development of thinking. And genuine development of thinking happens as an enculturation experience in this whole culture that is developed, where wherever you look, there is some sort of learning that you can adapt from. And all subject lines are just done away with. It's an inquiry that you delve into, dig deeper into together, collaboratively. That's where learning really happens.
Post learning about this experience, ma'am, I wish I was a student in that school and you were my teacher, which brings me to the fact that, how do we equip the teachers there to be ready for these young learners?
Oh, that's a very, very critical question. It's so thank you. First of all, you are an amazing teacher yourself, and you've been a big part of this journey. You know how tough it is to first of all get teachers who believe in learning, who first of all love children. That passion has to come in from within. We can teach all the ideas and concepts, and we can do all the capacity building you can dream of. And yes, a lot is required. Definitely, that's at the heart of everything we do. But what's absolutely needed and what we look for first and foremost is somebody who's willing to learn, somebody who's got that spark of childhood still left and likely to continue no matter how old they grow. So that is first of all crucial. Then of course, we have a bridging and induction into the Adani GEMS way of working. There is no top-down approach because that's never how it works. Like I said earlier, the grammar of schooling is quite impervious to any change. There's always resistance to change, that's a given. But then change is the only way, change is the only reality to continue, which is what we let the teachers realize. Every teacher, naturally, teaches the way they loved to learn. But every one of us is different. And every one of us liked to learn in a certain way. We had our favorite teachers. The minute we try explaining anything to anyone, forget teaching in a classroom, but just explaining anything to anyone, we will do it exactly the way we liked to understand from somebody we really appreciated and admired. That is very difficult to transform. It's a transition. And every teacher is, just like me, very keen to speak at all times. It's very difficult to be quiet when you're brimming with a lot of ideas and you want to tell the child, no, don't do this, this is not okay, you have to get this right. That is where the learning really is, because our classroom has to have that free space for the child. So the child has to be at the center and the teacher has to guide the way, not tell. The teacher has to be there supporting, ensuring that they feel safe, nurtured, comfortable exploring. That sheltering. Alongside that, it's very critical in this that without the child realizing that they do become assessment capable. So the rubrics are shared before any kind of learning. Self-evaluation is built in. Lots of metacognitive reflection is built in every step of the way. Once the lesson is done, any new concept is done with all the inquiries and deliberations and drafts and so on, in which there are deliberation stations where they argue and discuss, and dissent is, and the development of critical voice is necessary. So all of that happens. But once that is done, there's a metacognitive snapshot that children put back in their journals. We don't use the term notebooks again. And we don't have sections in our schools like ABCD. There's tree names or seed names or anything connected with nature that could be utilized in a school as sections. But children really associate everything coming together. And in this self-evaluation, through considering consistently what went well, what could have been even better, that consistent reflection, they develop growth mindsets and a very, very strong ability to be able to learn whatever they need to learn in future, because everything is changing and evolving. They need to be able to also understand where we are in the narrative arc of history, so that history, well, we don't teach history because of, we need to learn or know a chronology or some information. We teach history because not necessarily it repeats itself, but it's an analysis into change and what changes. How time changes everything, but then what changes and what doesn't. What evolves and how it transforms, and what kind of effects then any new change will have on whatever we are going through today or whatever life is today. And that kind of understanding or perspective into the future is what anything and everything, right from history to science to art to any development, when they all come together, that perspective is built.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for sharing the wonderful vision which we have at Adani GEMS Education. And it truly, puts us in the lens that how we visualize education in our classrooms. Child remains the center of what we do, what we plan, whether it is a teacher, whether it is a planner, whether it is a leadership member, all remains in that circle to provide the best opportunities and best experiences for our children. Right where they enter, they experience this for 8 hours, and when they go back home, everything remains in one circle so that they all have the best experience of their lives.